The retro bike trend has been going on for many years now and runs through the portfolio of almost every manufacturer. If you think there's no difference between all the bikes anyway and their sole purpose is to look cool, you're wrong. Kawasaki Z900RS, Triumph Speed Twin and Yamaha XSR900 couldn't be more different. Z900RS, Speed Twin and XSR900, they represent the peak of the respective sporty retro program. The differences are already apparent on paper, 2-cylinder versus 3-cylinder versus 4-cylinder. The power classes are similar, however, and thanks to the Dunlop Roadsmart IV RS as the standard tire, the odds were the same. Does a bike stand out from the crowd? Just the other day we praised the Kawasaki Z900RS for its sportiness compared to the small Z650RS. But now, in this comparison, we see the retro Kawasaki in a different light. Thanks to its upright riding position, well-balanced chassis and comfortable saddle, it exudes comfort and serenity from another planet. You glide through the countryside and enjoy the silky smoothness of the 948cc inline 4-cylinder engine, accompanied by a bassy sound. However, when the going gets serious in the twisties, the engine pushes its 111 horsepower at 8,500 revs and 98.6 torque at 6,500 revs willingly into the asphalt, and shows the sporty side of the Z900RS. The chassis and brakes are perfectly tuned to the 218 kilograms we weighed, and the chassis components can be additionally adjusted if necessary. Uncomplicated and simply good, the Kawasaki Z900RS is a classic Japanese 4-cylinder naked bike that goes back to the basics. 2-stage traction control, ABS and a compact LCD display between the analog gauges. You won't find more electronics on this bike. But that's a good thing, the fan community loves the retro Kawa. From the first glance at the Speed Twin, you realize that Triumph has mastered the craft of retro bikes, or modern classics, as the British manufacturer calls it. Every line here is coherent, and thanks to the high-quality workmanship and the visually seemingly wireless engine, it looks absolutely clean. Speaking of the engine, what a power unit. From 1200cc, the inline 2-cylinder with offset crankshaft produces 100 horsepower at 250 revolutions per minute, and a torque of a mighty 112 Nm at 4. The only criticism on the Triumph is the heat generated by the engine, which is definitely higher as on its Japanese competitors. The chassis and brakes are of a high standard, as you would expect from Triumph. In our comparison with the beefy Kawasaki and the sporty Yamaha, all testers noticed the difference in size between Japan and England. When you sit in the 809mm high saddle, the Speed Twin feels like it disappears under your legs. With its compact dimensions, the handlebars placed close to the rider and the generally low build, you don't get the feeling of a 216.5 kilogram machine. In riding, this circumstance is also noticeable in the easy handling. Small riders will definitely be happy on this retro bike. The last retro bike in our roundup also comes from Japan, but takes a different approach to the subject. The name says it all, because with the new Mark 9 as a basis, the Sport Heritage machine is definitely aimed at sporty, ambitious retro riders. The low handlebars stretch the rider more over the tank, while the high rising seat gives good support towards the rear. However, Yamaha could have given the XSR900 a thicker seat cushion. You certainly won't last long on this bike, but you are rewarded with the technology and electronics of the Mark 9. Which is why the XSR is really just a Mark 9 in old school dress. The purest retro idea could fall by the wayside here, because with 6-axis IMU, lean angle dependent assistance systems, slide control, lift control system and TFT display, it takes one look at the classically shaped tank and the gorgeous color scheme in the saddle to remind you that you're sitting on a retro bike. So if you're looking for a sporty naked bike with a retro bike look no further than the XSR900. The CP3 3-cylinder with standard quickshifter fires mightily out of the corner and, with 119 horsepower at 10,000 revs, is also the most powerful engine in the trio. The fully adjustable suspension and the Bremso brakes are of the highest quality and perfectly match the sporty approach. Only the standard suspension tuning bothered 2 of our 3 testers. The rear end bounces noticeably on bumps in fast bends, so a visit to the suspension expert would be our first stop. Z900RS, Speed Twin and XSR900 3 retro bikes that couldn't be more different. At the price tag, the contrasts continue. Despite its extensive electronics package, Yamaha's XSR900 turns out to be clearly the cheapest bike in this comparison, followed by Kawasaki and finally Triumph. On paper, the Yamaha should theoretically win, lowest price and highest quality equipment. But retro bikes arouse emotions and the decision is not always made on the basis of the datasheet. But now I understand parents who have to choose their favorite. Every retro bike in our comparison has its own personality that makes them special. But at the same time, no bike allows itself such a gross blunder that it immediately flies out of the race. The respective manufacturers know their strengths, which they skillfully bring to bear. With its silky inline 4-cylinder and bassy sound, The Kawasaki Z900RS exudes the flair of an old-school big bike. With its classic shape, gorgeous paintwork, and analog gauges, the overall package is absolutely coherent. At the same time, thanks to the high handlebars and the incredibly comfortable saddle, it conveys the purest sofa feeling. But if necessary, she can also push hard. After all, the chassis and brake components are of the highest quality. The elegant Englishwoman, the Triumph Speed Twin, may carry the most expensive price tag, but it can justify it with its workmanship and feel. Every line fits, all unnecessary cables are hidden from view, and there is no angle from which it does not look attractive. It also appears dignified in driving, revving to a maximum of just over 7,000 revs, but makes up for this with its massive torque. In comparison, it was the bike I rode the smoothest. Not because it doesn't appreciate the sporty pace, rather because it exudes calm and absolute elegance. Two words that the Yamaha XSR900 does not have in its vocabulary. With its cool 80 seconds look, it doesn't care about relaxation and only wants one thing: to be driven hard. But who's surprised? With the sporty components of the sister naked bike, it is in my eyes a Mount 9 on beautiful and rides accordingly. That's why I personally wouldn't call it a pure retro bike. Does this mean that Yamaha is missing the point? Not necessarily, because its sporty character, the somewhat different and more daring retro look, and the high quality components make it my personal winner of the comparison. Even though the competitors are just as sporty, I felt more potential in the Yamaha every time. The quickshifter alone was something I couldn't do without. In my opinion, the XSR900 combines retro and modern perfectly. Modern enough for enormous riding fun, but old school enough to make an impression in front of the ice cream shop. But what is your opinion? Let me know in the comments. Until then, thanks for watching, and please subscribe to the channel if you liked the video. See you next time.